Saudi Arabia is probably the second biggest oil producer. They've worked with us very well. We've kept oil prices down. If you want to see oil prices go to $150 a barrel, like, by the way, Russia would love to see that, all you have to do is break up our relationship with Saudi Arabia.
The president has been very clear why he's okay with Saudi officials killing and reportedly dismembering a U.S. resident and Washington Post columnist last month. And it is because, at least in part, he believes that Saudi Arabia can supply the United States with cheap oil, something he continued to brag about today, tweeting, quote, "Oil prices getting lower, great. Like a big tax cut for America and the world, enjoy. $54 was just $82. Thank you, Saudi Arabia, but let's go lower." Trump's unabashed willingness to link his steadfast support of Saudi Arabia, despite their brutal murder of Jamal Khashoggi, not to mention the weeks and weeks of lying about it, and his love of cheap oil raised a number of questions, most especially, is there some kind of explicit deal here? Here with me now, oil trader Dan Dicker, author of Shale Boom, Shale Bust, The Myth of Saudi America. Dan emailed me yesterday to help hypothesize that, yes, there was some kind of deal between the Trump administration and the Saudis over oil prices and Khashoggi's murder. What was your contention?
Well, let's do a little reconnaissance, Chris. A little bit of history. The Saudis and OPEC are dealing with a very low price of oil, and they need a high price of oil. Their economy is almost 100% based upon oil revenues. Russia as well, a little more than 50% of their revenues based on oil. So they're dealing with a bad piece of oil action where oil was trading in the $30 range. This is going back to 2016. At this point, MBS, as he's consolidating power, has a new plan. He's going to control supply. He puts together a consortium, not only of OPEC members, but of Russia too, to control production, really cut it back very, very stiffly. Now remember, the cartel does not have a good record of keeping these things together.
Right. Part of the reason that he has to make the new consortium is because there's so much cheating in OPEC, they have a hard time keeping it together.
That's all they do, and most of the traders expect that's what they'll do this time.
Right.
But instead of that, MBS has the ability to hold this consortium together for 2 years with compliance not of 100%, but 110%, 115%, where the Saudis are actually throwing in more of a production cut to make sure that they soak up the extra surplus that was in the market, and we're watching oil prices rise. And as we're watching oil prices rise over these 2 years, Trump is getting madder and madder and madder. He's tweeting at the Saudis, we won't allow this to happen, this manipulation of an oil market. He's getting more and more mad as oil prices are going on. Fast forward. Khashoggi is murdered. A week later, Pompeo, the Secretary of State, goes to Riyadh to talk, supposedly, about what went down in Turkey. Comes out of the meeting, and what did you talk about? And oh, we didn't even mention Khashoggi in this meeting. Yeah. Really? Okay, fine. 3 days later, Al-Falih, who is the Saudi oil minister, comes out with a statement. We're not only going to increase production, the Saudis, but we're signaling to the rest of OPEC that you can open your spigots as wide as you want right now. And we're all standing there saying, what? This goes against the entire strategy that the Saudis have been so painstaking to put together for the last 2 years, and what they really need going forward for the next 2 years, because they have even bigger plans with a modernization of their state oil, Saudi Aramco. Yeah. I mean, they have big plans. They don't need just $80 oil. They need $100 oil, $110 oil. But for this moment, they're saying, we're done with this proposal. Everybody, all the traders, all the hedge funds start to flee. And in 2.5 weeks... Based on the statement. So the top Saudi oil official says this thing. The oil markets start to go, because we've seen them go down, like the president tweeted about, they've gone down $25 or whatever. But we've never seen them go down like this without something else going wrong. Like in 2008, a major credit crunch, the equity markets are getting pummeled, you know, the dollar is going up, or something else has to be going on. Some other commodity is getting killed, but no, just oil, straight down $25 without a stop for 2.5 weeks. And that's not because, I mean, we also seen at the same time, we've seen the markets go down. The markets appear to be pricing in signals they think it's late cycle. We're headed towards a recession. You don't think that's what's driving the oil? It's helped. I mean, there were a lot of people. There's a lot of bear market indicators. There are some bear market indicators, but they were kind of always there. And what there really were was most people in the financial communities who believed that the Saudis were continuing with their plan of supporting the oil market going into 2019. And when they bailed on that everybody just came in like an avalanche of selling.
So you emailed me this theory yesterday, which I thought, well, I guess it's plausible. I don't know. Is this like a conspircy theory? Is it what I said? Do you have evidence? I said, no, it's just this is the way that the chronology lines up.
And it would all seem circumstantial except for the fact of the last 2 days where Trump is all of a sudden
bragging about it.
Really pleased with the way the Saudis are helping us, and also quoting on the White House lawn that they are working with us on oil prices. Really? The president is now working with the Saudis on oil prices? How did that turn around so quickly? This would have all seemed circumstantial, or at least you could have put it off as circumstantial, if not for the fact that Trump is in fact admitting openly that he did in fact have a deal. They are working together with the Saudis in terms of getting oil prices
basically
lower.
Bragging about it today. He had another tweet about how there's so much traffic because everyone's saying oil prices are so low. Like, it seems like a totally plausible.
He can't help but take credit for these things.
A plausible account
help.
of the facts before us. Dan Dicker, that was great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.